Councilwoman Goldberg,
Here.
Councilman Pagan,
Here.
Councilwoman G,
Here.
Councilman Katz, Deputy Mayor Belcher, Deputy Mayor Organ, here, Mayor Schwartz.
Here.
Okay. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by resolution number 300-2024, sending a copy to the newspapers officially designated for 2025 by way of the resolution number 2-2025. Filed a copy in the township clerk's office and posted it on the municipal building bulletin board. And the mayor hereby directs that this statement be included in the minutes.
The April 3rd, 2025 budget meeting. With us in the township administration here tonight are Jack Asher, the township manager, Doug Lucio, the township clerk, Lisa Boston, the chief financial officer, Chrissy DeOrcia, the deputy township clerk, Scott Salmon, the township attorney, is will maybe join us. Ron Goodman, our volunteer cable master. For the public commission, we're currently holding a hybrid format meeting. We have people in person and on Zoom. If our Wi-Fi connection will have an issue where the Zoom meeting drops, we'll aim to retrieve connection to community. Please sign up for the website updates and alerts. The township council may cancel the budget meeting on April 10th. The next televised regular council meeting is April 8th, which begins at 6:30 p.m. with public portions at 8 p.m. Public access channels 4777 are temporarily down. You can watch meetings on Zoom, Facebook, YouTube, and the recording of tonight's meeting will be on the website tomorrow. On Monday, April 7th from 7 to 9 p.m. in council chambers, there'll be a community information meeting on a proposed development at 827 Teaneck Road, known as Regina's. Participation is in person. The meeting will be streamed on Zoom. Council did not meet tonight in closed session, and we stand up as we can observe a moment of silence for Leonard Leo Wilcox, a former council. Okay. Sir, or anything else you before we turn to the manager? Good. Okay, Mr. Manager. Oh, actually, no, well, I apologize.
Yeah.
You're not good. We hear you. Okay, so we have agenda there.
Oh, sorry. Yes, good and welfare, Mayor, you are correct.
Okay, so what we got the, yes, anyone for good welfare? Councilman Sullivan.
Alan Sohn, Teaneck resident. Next Saturday night, Jews around the world will celebrate Passover, our festival of freedom. At the Passover Seder, traditionally, there are a number of unusual practices that take place. And the customary explanation for why we do these things and why we do them year after year is so that the children will ask. The Manish Tana is one of the biggest highlights of the Seder, especially for the children. So too, this budget demands questions. Any rational person looking through this budget has to start scratching their head and asking questions. Why is this pool different from all other pools? The Teaneck Community Pool is a wonderful addition to the township, but the question is that in recent years, there have been 3 pools. The Phelps Park pool turned into a dog park. Much more recently, the Hawthorne above-ground pool and the Votee Park in-ground pool that have basically been run into the ground. These have been so recent that the township's website still lists both pools at Hawthorne and Votee as existing. The reason that both pools have been run into the ground is basically a lack of attention, a lack of maintenance, a lack of resources. If not for the blood, sweat, tears, and let me add again, sweat again, of Trayvon Romeo, who literally with his body was taking care of that pool for the past couple of years, this would have failed years ago. The pools have been running at a tremendous loss. And then the question is, how are we going to maintain the Teaneck Community Pool? What are the resources? What is the budget for the pool? The Teaneck Swim Club had been running at a deficit. The reports that they had made out to the public showed that they were running at a deficit of about $150,000 a year. And that was basically the main reason why they were let to close. Now the question is, with the fees that will be charged, there will be a substantial drop in revenue unless there's a huge spike in the number of former Votee Park pool residents who are swimming there. Which will basically damage the revenue numbers, while any credit that is given for the bonds that the Teaneck Swim Club was unable to pay in the form of discounts at $100 per year will further reduce revenue. How much will that cost? What will that add to the budget for this year? This systematic neglect that occurred at the Votee Park and other pools is a pattern of what is going on in this township. The DPW facility on River Road has long been neglected. It's been neglected so long that for years it's been called a death trap. And basically, there's just been some minor cosmetic changes that just to keep it operating year after year. This has been part of a systematic problem. Our sewer taxes also raise questions. Why is it that in a year where we desperately need to have additional revenue, where we're going to have one of the largest budget increases in the past 25 years, do we not have an answer to those questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council and Teaneck residents. Tonight, we welcome our Acting Recreation Superintendent, Sean Powers, our DPW Director, Trevon Romeo, our Township Engineer, Farah Galani, and also, even though he is always present, our Township Clerk, Doug Roussillon. In addition, we also have our CFO, Isa Abbasi, here to assist with any detailed questions in reference to our 2025 municipal budget. Tonight is part 2 of our budget reviews with our departments that have a detailed budget that may have some questions of significant changes to their existing 2025 municipal department budget. I'm going to start our budget review with Acting Superintendent of Recreation, Sean Powers. If you could please come to the podium. Council, we are referencing tab 5, page 124. Account 370, the department request is $524,940, of which is 9.04% higher this year, $43,500. Sub-account 211, I would just comment, is down due to the utilization of online registration that has increased over time. And sub-account 231, I would like Sean to comment on. This is our equipment. The department is requesting $16,200, which is an increase of 285.71%. So Sean, if you could give us a little overview on that sub-account, that'd be great.
Sure. Good evening, Mayor and Council. This sub-account is going up because of the one line item for lightning detection system monitoring fee to replace the siren and strobe lights for 3 parks. We plan to do 3 parks per year. The lightning detection is at its life expectancy and is in need of replacement for strobes and sirens.
Thank you, Sean. Also, we have sub-account 250, which is building maintenance and equipment. That is up 83.91%. Could you give us an explanation as well?
Sure. The main reason it's going up dramatically is $28,000 for Gym 2 floor sanding, which is required or should be done every 7 to 8 years. We're currently at 9 years. So the sanding, repainting, and refinishing of the Gym 2 Rota Center floor is needed. Additionally, we have blind and sign replacements. A $5,000 requested for this year to start replacing broken and missing blinds throughout the Rota Center. Additionally, folding chair replacements in the senior center and replacing rectangular 6-foot tables.
Okay. Also, We have sub-account 253, which is in addition this year, our radon testing is due this year. That's done every 5 years. So Sean has included that in this year's recreation budget.
This is needed for the state licensing for our preschool and after-school program.
That was all of the sub-accounts I had, Sean, but I would like to jump to your capital budget for recreation. Just to go through some of the items that you have in this budget. Did you want to go through them
Sure.
specifically? Thank you.
First is the commercial passenger van replacement, $120,000. We currently have a fleet of 3 vans that provide transportation for senior and disabled residents, going to local doctor's appointments, food shopping, and local errands. All 3 vans are at their usable life expectancy and starting to break down, keeping them off the road and therefore forcing us to occasionally cancel appointments while they're serviced by Public Works. The 3 vans are 8, 9, and 14 years old. So they are getting old and yes,
8 years.
I think it's more the mileage and the
Yes.
wear and tear that it's been having going back and forth with the seniors. Yes,
I actually.
daily.
they are, yes, they are used 5 days a week. Now you call in, Teaneck residents can call in and request 2 weeks in advance. They have a doctor's appointment and they need a transportation service. We will provide that for them. It's for senior and disabled, senior and disabled residents. Hackensack, Englewood, and Teaneck only. Doctors visits, food shopping, and local errands. Yes. They do. You see Bergenfield has vans. Many towns have it. Yes. Yes.
Can I ask a quick question about the
Sure.
gym floor? So in the 2024 budget, we put in gym floor sanding for gym 2. Did we not do that? Or is that separate? Because it was 25,000 last year for gym 2 floor sanding in 24.
We did not do
I
that.
think Issa was taken out, correct?
Yeah, I believe it was taken out. Let me double check it, but I remember with Dean as the manager, that was one of the cuts we made. I'll just double check that the column reflects that. Bear with me. I'll get right back to you.
Yeah, Sean, you could go to the next item and
Okay.
then while Issa looks.
Next item is gym fans, permanent installation in the Rhoda Center gymnasiums, $100,000. This is needed for permanent solution to the lack of airflow in both gymnasiums. The gyms get extremely hot and they're used 7 days a week. So we need a solution and we put in for a grant money for this for $80,000. But it is absolutely needed.
So Councilwoman Goldberg, just to answer your question, last year it was requested 25,000, but if you look at last year's budget book, the middle column manager approved is 0 and the 23 adopted was 0 as well.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask a quick question? So when it comes to playgrounds, I know they don't build them the way they used to when we were little growing up in Teaneck. And I know parts of our playgrounds are going up, but that's totally understandable. How many playgrounds do we have down? I know that there's Terhune Park and that's going to take a while to fix, but how many other playgrounds are experiencing any sort of problems or closure? Just off the top of your head. And if you don't know, that's okay too.
Yeah, no, I don't think there's any others that are closed.
Okay, so just Terhune, that little part is gated off. Okay.
Yeah, there's some, we had a tree branch fall on one of the apparatus in Martin Luther King Park. So that's roped off.
The one
but
right there,
it's
right?
Not,
Yeah.
it's not, the park is still open.
Alright.
So we're getting pricing to replace that apparatus.
Thanks for what you guys do, because I get a lot of parents that always reach out about any sort of playground issue.
Next item is a water fountain upgrade in Brooks Park, asking for $50,000. This would cover the cost of new ADA fountains, new concrete slabs, new piping, and address any drainage issues. Next up is the Phelps Park ball field improvements for $400,000. This is grant funded. By improving the quality of the fields, the town can reduce ongoing maintenance costs. A well-maintained field will require less frequent repairs, saving money in the long run. Heavily used ball fields often experience wear and tear from constant activity. More games and practices can degrade the quality of the fields, leading to issues like poor drainage, uneven surfaces, and damaged turf. This is for the minor and major, right? Next up is the Phelps Park splash pad, $500,000. Also, a grant was received. Splash pad provides a wide range of sensory experiences that encourage motor skills, cross-generational play, social development, collaboration, and cognitive and physical development for our youngest residents. This will offer various fun and exciting spray features, including directional jets, fountain sprays, and split stream water apparatus controlled by placing your hand on an activator. Any questions? Phelps Park hand court upgrade, $60,000. This is for resurfacing the basketball and volleyball court. The courts are very old. I don't know that they've ever been touched. It's desperate need of resurfacing and painting of the lines. Sagamore Park playground and splash pad upgrades, including the restroom. This was already presented. There's a grant money for this, was received for this project. Another much needed splash pad, prefab bathroom, and beautiful playground for all to enjoy. I'm sure Farah will speak more on that. And finally, the ball field replacement, 1.5 million for a redevelopment of OT Park's middle field into a multi-use synthetic turf sports facility. This project to use possible most funds and PST&G funds if approved. And that's it for capital.
Thank you, Sean. I'll also bring up our Teaneck Municipal Pool, or I'm sorry, Teaneck Community Pool, that Sean will be overseeing as part of the Recreation Department. We do have it listed here for $350,000 in our capital budget. It is our best guess at this point, based on the information provided by the Teaneck Swim Club. Improvements for next year could include our basketball courts, the tennis and handball courts, also being used for pickleball, playground improvements to make them ADA compliant, snack bar improvements, new lounge chairs, all pending items at this time. As you know, we took over this property just a couple weeks ago, so getting actual quotes that were definitive at this time would not be possible. But in our list of items, this is the best way for us to have, I think, the funding, and Trevon and Sean have sat down with Issa and I, and we think that this will give us the opportunity to make the necessary upgrades. We also do need a new roof on the community pool. So this is funding that we do feel we are confident we will need for the 2025 capital budget. So I don't know if Sean, you had anything else you wanted to add about the pool?
No, these are all things that will improve this beautiful facility. Tennis court, possible pickleball, basketball court resurfacing, possibly shuffleboard, playground, as the manager mentioned, needs upgrading. It's quite old. We did a little research with the vendor, and I believe it's at least 27 years old. So it is coming to its life expectancy for sure.
Thank you, Sean.
What about the operations costs though for it? I mean, the capital is one thing, but I don't see the day-to-day operations costs built in here.
Those are going, I believe you're referring to the item under DPW that says OT. Is that what you're referencing?
Well, for the pool itself, so is that,
It's under
DPW.
DPW.
and then the head count for the pool, is that going to be baked into recreation? Is that in here, the
The
additional head
for
count?
lifeguard?
For lifeguards, and then there was 2 or 3 full-time, I think you said? that fit for 50,000? Is that in here?
The
So-
50,000 is under, go ahead.
So the 50,000 for the lifeguard, the, what's it called?
The CPO.
CPO is under full-time salaries and wages under recreation. The lifeguards fall under part-time salaries in recreation, specifically the admin salary line, but you'll see it in the budget book in tab 4 as part-time. But it's lumped into there. I mean, they're the same personnel, correct me if I'm wrong, Sean, that are coming over from VOTI for the most part to the community pool.
Yes, yeah, there'll be, hopefully, many of our VOTI guards will be coming over, as well as hiring some of the swim club's guards and whoever else applies, because we will need more guards for sure.
So even though, so the decrease in salary, the full-time salaries for recreation of $15,000 includes the pool.
Yes, that's correct. I mean,
Okay.
I'd have to check why there was a decrease in it. But again, as long as the salary and wage line is in the positive, let's say there's a resignation or retirement, you don't have to make any transfers between them. Only when November comes around, if there's an overage, we would move funds there to cover it. Typically, what I look at with the recreation director is seeing how it trends. It does, some departments are higher than others in other years, but typically they've trended fairly well. And that's why I've kept their budgets where they were. Some years one's up, some years one's down, but they kind of even each other out.
Okay. Can I, before I switch gears to camp, I just don't want to jump if someone has another pool question before I totally change to camps. Okay. Sports and arts. So last year, sports and arts, the salaries lines was, I want to say $90,000. It was huge, which put us at a deficit for the program. Were we able to find out if there was any, was that part-timers, if we were able to find out what that was and kind of where are we with sports and arts for this summer?
Yeah, so the $90,000, we're attracting more qualified, more professional instructors to lead each of our grades in the sports and arts camp. And that is needed again this year to run a quality program like sports and arts year after year.
Is the revenue that we're bringing in with the adjustments that we just made to the recreation gonna close that gap, do you think?
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah.
Sorry.
It's going from $125 to $200 per session, so that's a pretty substantial increase.
Sorry, my mic, sorry. All right, thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Okay, now I would like to ask our DPW Director, Trevon Romeo, to come up to go over his operating budget. Council, we're going to start by referring to tab 5, page 96. DPW is requesting $2,908,850. In 2024, the adopted budget was $2,577,020, an increase of 12.88% for 2025. Trevon, we're going to start with sub-account 210, contract services. There's an increase of 35.69%. Could you give us an overview as to the increase?
210, that dealt with contractors for snow removal and snow plowing. Upcoming sanitary sewer point repairs. Additional trucks, loaders, and contractors for leaf removal. Also dealt with the rental of 3 bucket loaders, contractors with crane for tree removal. We also have requested for 3 tree-lined streets to be removed. All the trees on that street, that's Fenmore, Rockledge, and Whitelaw. Those trees have outgrown their planting spaces. And generally, there was an increase in contractor costs for the upkeep of municipal parking lots.
Thank you, Trevon. Also sub-account 250, parks, grounds, and tree supplies is up 83%. Can you give us an overview of that as well?
Yeah, so we had an increase in cost for and that dealt with the purchasing of certified clean soil for various recreational parks. Increase in toiletry supplies for to accommodate the additional restrooms and in recreational spaces that we recently acquired. The replacement of some of the worn flags, spray paint for field markings and graffiti cover-up, installation of fall zone protection for parks, the playground areas, and the replacement of some landscaping barrels for our parks department.
Thank you, Trevon. We're also going to speak about sub-account 280, outside repairs. We have an increase of 23.92%. I know many of our buildings, Trevon and I speak about them daily. We run into a lot of issues, so I'd like him to kind of summarize why we have an increase on our repairs.
We have some aging infrastructure, more so in recent years, we have been dealing with a lot of HVAC problems, and that has been hitting us really hard. We have been spending a chunk of money with the HVAC systems in most our municipal buildings, town hall, recreation, and it's in need of a new system. We are doing work at fire headquarters and upcoming police headquarters. And those units have outgrown their life expectancy, and they are requiring more maintenance.
Okay, thank you, Trevon. Does anyone have any questions on this account? And then I will jump to buildings and grounds. Okay, so we're going to jump to page 105, which is the DPW account 310, buildings and grounds. Sub-account 260 will be revised for the Teaneck Community Pool. These are just general supplies that Trevon will need on a daily basis to run and operate the pool. As of now, it did reference the VOT pool, which is closed. So that'll be updated. Sub-account 270, an increase of 67.72%. Can you give us an overview, Trevon?
270, we had a significant increase due to grass cutting and maintenance of ball fields and parks.
Thank you. Our next account, DPW account 320. It's on page 109. We are seeing a 9.94% increase. Sub-account 290 and 296 reflect some increase for tool replacement. Can you give us a summary, please, Trevon?
Due to some of the new equipment that we acquired, it requires specialized tools. Most of the equipment that we have gotten within the last 2 to 3 years have the warranty period ended, and now we are responsible for full repair, and we are required to purchase diagnostic tools and licensing for those tools to do the repairs on these vehicles.
Thank you. Our last DPW account, which is snow removal, is on page 114, account 325. This account has remained flat at $83,435. I can attest that it was a very successful snow season. I commend Trevon for getting us through a very, not too much snow, but everything ran very well. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
I would like to just touch on your capital budget. Did anyone have any questions on the operating or the cap? Your capital budget, I know we have some vehicles here for replacement, total of 500,000 under the DPW Public Works Equipment. Trevon, did you want to comment on what you need here in the capital budget?
We need a wood chipper. We need to replace two of our utility trucks that we use for snow plowing and parks and recreation. They are 2007 and one is a 1999. That is on the very last leg. And we have one of our Packer trucks that has been in service since 1996. And at this point, I'm here 22 years this year, and that truck's been here before before I came. So it's been running on its last leg. I don't think it will make it through our next season.
Thank you so much, Trevon. Does anyone have any question?
Go ahead. No, you first. Ladies first.
A quick question. Do you have what you need in this budget to provide the services to the residents that they're accustomed to receiving?
We will work with what we have to provide the best service we could.
Mr. Mayor, I want to start off by saying thank you because you guys do so much with so little and you help so many people and you guys do an excellent job and you're always really quick. Can you please remind me how many people you have on staff? How many are full-time? How many are part-time?
At this time, we have 57, and it varies between 14 and 19 seasonal workers.
All right, thank you.
I also want to commend you and your staff for the extraordinary work that you do throughout the township. I just want to ask, in terms of, grants and so forth, do you feel that we as a township are doing all that we can as it pertains to identifying, grant opportunities for the DPW? I know that you've attended some of the infrastructure meetings and so forth. So I just want to make sure that, you feel that we're really kind of like there for you and your staff and so forth. I know that there's a lot that we're looking forward to in terms of the future of the DPW site and equipment and so forth. So I just wanted to know if you had any comments on the subject.
We are working with we have a collaboration with some of the neighboring municipalities to get a grant for stormwater infrastructure improvement. That is headed by the business administrator for Inglewood. They have taken the lead, but we are part of that grant application. And as we are also working to get some electric vehicles, green vehicles. I think they'll be more suited for the recreation department. And yeah, so we are trying to maximize the grants that we could without additional cost, because these grants are matching grants, and some of them we have to upgrade our electrical system to do that. And because we will be building a new facility soon, it's not feasible for us to invest in that type of infrastructure right now until we have a permanent home. Welcome.
I'll jump in. I'll actually say thank you. I mean, it's interesting. It's three different departments, but you all work together. So I just wanted to say thank you based on the presentation that you both gave already. And there was a lot of talk about grants. I almost didn't mention that. It basically seems that this year as a resident, my taxes will go up. We have a huge upgrade in our pools. We have new splash pads being installed. We have a new bathrooms being installed. We have a new park of a full new park at Herrick Park installed. And it's a lot of it with grant money as well. And I understand grant money a lot of times forces us to spend because sometimes it's matching. So we're forced to spend, which I like. So I just want to thank, because these are some really, really good amenities. The new field at Voti, there's some really good amenities coming on. And frankly, that's all people want to see. They want to see, like, they want to see their roads paved. Our pothole comments are down significantly. It's because we've been paving like crazy over the last 9 years. So it's really, you know, we're heading in the right direction with a lot of new amenities coming on board, that people are really getting a great bang for their buck, especially because of the hard work. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trevon.
Thanks.
Next, we have our Township Engineer Farah Galani with us. She's going to come forward. This is page 44, account 165. Overall, the request is for $357,250 to include professional services. And we also have listed under sub-account 241 is our Environmental Commission. As you all know, we are launching our compost pilot program April 27th. And this line item will fund the actual buckets for the 75 residents that have signed up. Farah is also monitoring several park projects for us, ones that we have grant funding for, which we mentioned in capital, specifically the Phelps Park grants that we have that are listed. She also is overseeing, as you know, the Sagamore Park project. And I'd like her to give us a little bit of an update on that project.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. So Sagamore project, we applied for Greenacre grant back in 2023, and we received 750K for that, and it's a matching grant. And we are adding new playground equipments. We are putting new prefab bathroom in that park, and also a brand new splash pad. So that's the scope of the work. And we are doing the preliminary design currently, and then we will be heading toward final design once we want the project.
And Sarah, what about the detention tanks?
Okay, so
yeah.
Bell Avenue detention
Yes.
system. So we received a $1.1 million from EPA for Bell Avenue detention system in Sagamore Park. The design is complete, and we are doing the final review for that project. And we will be doing meeting with resident to go
Community
over
meeting.
the plans, and then we will go out to bid for that project.
Is there any chance any of that work will coincide and be done at the same time, or are the timelines completely?
No, the Bell Avenue detention system should go first, and then the playground and the other project will go afterward.
And Farah, could you give us an overview? I know you're doing the road resurfacing project under capital. It's 2.8 million. I know that there is a full restoration of, I think, Palisade Ave, West Tryon to Galway.
Yes, so that is a NJDOT funded municipal aid project, and we received 250K grant for that project. And it's we're gonna be some portion of that road, we're gonna be fully reconstruction, but it's gonna be mill and pave project from West Englewood, West Tryon to all the way to the school, to the dead end. Palisade gonna be done.
We've been doing this over years. So
Yeah,
it's really
and there is two other streets, one dead end street, Galloway Place.
Oh, you're gonna go up into Galloway, you're
Yes,
saying? Okay.
yes, and also West Tryon.
Is Galloway a grant?
Yes.
The
that
actual,
is-
because
yes,
otherwise it's
Yes,
a dead end. Okay.
yeah, because they otherwise we will not be able to do it. This is the time when we can do it, and it's in bad shape as well. So, yeah.
It just seems like we've listed in the last half an hour, millions upon millions of dollars in grants. Is that right? That's generally what I picked up on, is that?
Yes, we apply for a lot of grants. We work with Millennium almost I feel like we're on a meeting weekly, just finding out what grants we have. And we're trying to be a little bit more conscientious of what grants we're getting and what monies we have, because as you can see, a lot of our capital, we have money
Match.
in there, but we have to get reimbursed.
Right.
So we do need to lay out the money a lot of times at the beginning. So we do want to be very conscious of what grants we're applying for to make sure we have the funding, so we don't have our actual capital budget.
But this seems almost like it's record breaking, like
Yeah.
the amount, right? I'm not crazy?
We-
This
yeah.
is-
We
Yes,
have a lot of
yes.
Yeah, it's definitely, okay, that's what I thought, just get the listing in.
Mayor, yeah. You had mentioned about the community meeting for Bell Avenue. Is there a date for that yet?
Actually, Farah and I, we just spoke about it today, so I think,
No, we don't have date, but it's gonna be either end of this month, within couple of weeks, we will decide the date.
Quick question, Mr. Mayor, if I can. Thank you again for what you guys do. There is a sewer on DeGraw Avenue by Hickory Street, and I know the county is supposed to be helping repair that. Do we have a status update? And I can ask too, because they're just, a quick walk down the hall, but do we know what's going on with that repair?
I think the one on DeGraw, I think we're still waiting on an update, Farah and I, but I'll find out, get you an update. I know the one that we are looking, the emergency sewer repair was Larch and Kip.
Large and
That
Kip,
is in
yeah.
our capital.
Oh yeah, that's always been a
That
problem.
one has been, so that
for
is in
years.
capital, to get done, but the one on DeGraw, I think we have to follow up with the,
Thank
I
you.
don't have.
Thank you.
DeGraw and?
No,
Hickory?
it's right by Hickory. It's on DeGraw. There's a sewer there and it's coned off and the
Mhm.
ground is
Hickory,
distorted.
isn't Hickory,
So you have Hickory, which runs
Okay.
parallel to Queen Anne.
Right.
So right by that corner, as you're going to Zyniac,
okay,
before you get to Noah's Auto Mechanic,
uh-huh.
if you're on that side where
That was
Zyniac
there,
is,
okay.
yeah, there's a sewer there. It's just been an issue and a problem.
Okay.
It's been coned off for a while.
Who's there? And
Yeah, we met with county hydraulic engineer for that project, for that sewer, and then they are aware of it and they have it in their pipeline to repair that.
Okay, I'll ask too, because is it Christos who's working on that?
Christopher?
Okay,
yeah.
cool. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Farah. Appreciate it. Does anyone else have any question?
In capital, for municipal, yeah. There's $500,000 in there for municipal facilities upgrades. What is that for? Is any of that for this building? And can we open a conversation about maybe not fixing this building since the basement is a huge project to fix its flooding? And now we've got the upstairs in the engineering department that needs all kinds of work and maybe starting some kind of plans to actually redo this part, the old part of the building.
So do you want me to answer that?
Yes, please.
Okay, sure. So under Dean, we used to park $1 million in that account in capital for the past few years. That money was for the basement here initially. With bond council, we've kind of made it as including but not limited to municipal facilities, like a catch-all. And quite frankly, it has been helpful. We haven't gotten a chance to do the basement, but we've covered projects such as Fire Station 4, Fire Station 2, the library. So in a way, because we don't know what's going to happen, it is there for anything that can come up that we can handle right away without having to come back to the council with a new bond ordinance, have it introduced, adopted, advertised, get funding. So it is kind of a catch-all, but that's the point. It's beneficial that you can repurpose it.
Right, no, I understand the account. I'm actually asking, let's not fix anything with it. And let's start looking at architecture and engineering and seeing how much it would cost. Like this one room right here has nothing on top of it. It's just a standalone room that's always too hot and it's too cold and the microphones never work. And there isn't enough office space for the library. And this could become a new building where we don't have to solve the problem of groundwater in the basement and whatever's going on upstairs. And it doesn't have to be this year, but I think it's something we might want to consider. And that's why I'm bringing it up with the engineer.
Question, Deputy Mayor, are we talking about Town Hall?
Yeah,
Talking about the basement
the old,
downstairs?
the old part of the building.
If we do indeed do that, can we please take into consideration how we've told the Chamber of Commerce and Rotary as well as the food pantry that they might be able to use the basement? So that might affect their timeline or our timeline or whatever, just to please keep that into consideration.
Yeah, well, I think it would provide office space for so many more people than just them. If there was a new building, the people who are working back here are working in old offices also.
Duly noted. I just don't want to forget them.
expand on where you've been with.
Yeah, so we've been to Bergenfield's town hall, we've been to Leonia's town hall, and they have much newer courts, much newer council chambers, but I mean, having nothing to do with those, this building is falling apart. And I just think we're putting it's being held together by paint and glue, and I think we just keep putting Band-Aids on it. And it might be better to look at it as a holistic project, an entire project, instead of trying to make different parts of it work. I don't think that's helpful anymore. I think each part of this building is having its own issue, and it might be better, even if we have to bond for it, to start thinking in the next couple of years of redoing the entire building. We can move the library offices in here. We could move fire offices in here. I think it might be a nice, worthwhile project.
That's a planning discussion and yeah.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I will share with council, when I started here, I did take a tour of the basement, and I do want to share with you that Trevon and I, we also met with the architect, and Farah is aware, we do have a water situation that has not been resolved. So as much as I'm trying to resolve that issue, it is from the outside of the building, and Trevon can attest to it. We actually have a bigger issue going on there where the water is still coming into the building. So we have not moved fully forward with it at this point. So we could have this bigger discussion. You know, you as a council can have that conversation, but I do want to share with you that the water infiltrating into the building has not been fully resolved. So we do need to look into that to do anything more in the basement at this time. So like Issa said, keeping this line item there and have a bigger discussion if you want to do something more here is definitely something we can do. Thank you. Thank you, Farah, for your time. Next, I would ask our Township Clerk, Doug Roussillon, to please come on up. Yes, then present the clerk and advertising budget. Council, we will be referencing page 20 and then page 11. The advertising budget, it does remain flat at 24,000. But Doug, if you'd like to go through your council budget on page 20, please.
Yes, absolutely. Good evening, council, fellow department heads, residents. Yes, so our office is in charge of three very important budgets that are, yes, very important, but thankfully not too heavy in regards to some of the other things that we've heard from over the last couple of weeks, especially this evening. Most noteworthy to speak of from our budget usually looks at our election expenses. And I just want to note that we were able to decrease that a little bit this year from last year. You know, we're going to continue to monitor that budget and make changes as needed. Obviously, we all know and are acquainted with the relationship that we have with Bergen County and the cost sharing that all of our municipalities have to undertake with our county counterparts. Another very important thing for us to look at is our advertising budget. I just want to make a quick note. Ms. Hashmat did say indeed that we're not making any changes to the operating budget for advertising. We spend a lot of money on advertising, but what we did change, yes, Mayor? So just real quick, I'll make that point. It might be answering your question. We did make a change this year of knocking off a couple publications from our official publications list for the municipality. So we don't have as many required publications that we have to do. And I think that we'll see, I don't know if you're looking at the exact page number for advertising, account 100-4, you'll see we spent way more than we budgeted for in 2024. And I'm hoping that we won't do that this year with that change that we made. And absolutely, yes.
So my question to you then, I've heard the new, back forth with the laws about publications, not having to publicize. Where is that state law holding right now?
For now, we still are bound by law to publish in publications different legal ads. Yes. So, we're assessed a fee every time that we give them a publication, and that's still the law for now. There's some rumblings about creating digital requirements for municipalities, and I'm sure we could all agree that Teaneck definitely stays on top of our digital noticing as well. So we're kind of ahead of the ball with that. For now, I don't see the state alleviating us of our requirement to publish.
Okay.
I don't see that happening anytime soon. It's really the only way newspapers make their money.
Right. No one in this room benefits from that at all.
Yeah. And another quick note in the council budget is our special projects And underneath that is Teaneck Day. We're just confirming with everyone that we still have a decent chunk of change socked away underneath council to help fund the terrific day that is Teaneck Day. Any questions, comments, concerns?
Quick question. Code maintenance is up, not by much. I mean, percentage wise, but not by money wise. Is that IT stuff?
Code maintenance, no, that's strictly with our office. Me and Deputy Clerk DeNorcia, we work with general code to do constant recodifications of our code, keep it up to date. Hard copy, most importantly, online, our digital e-code. And we just put a couple dollars in there because some of those bills seem to have been a little higher. So we just want to make sure that we have, some discretionary funding
guys
in
are
there to
great.
help
Thank you for
fund
what you
that.
do.
Yeah, no problem.
Just a quick question. I know we talked about this a couple times over the past couple years. Have you considered at all how digitization would help your office with efficiency and being able to stretch yourselves?
Yeah, absolutely. We are evaluating pretty consistently different ideas of trying to get a digitization effort in regards to like stockpiles of records that we have here at the mothership that maybe we could clear up space and put it in some kind of digital depository, which normally with new things that we produce, that is the case. It's going backwards that we want to try and digitize things. And it is a very hefty price tag, so we're constantly evaluating different ideas with that, different kinds of grant funding, but nothing this year.
I think I actually saw, was it Pagoda or Englewood actually got congressional spending for that, which was kind of nice.
That's cool.
But I'm just curious, long-term thinking, would that help? How would that help your department with efficiency in general?
Yeah, I think it's definitely something that we could consider going forward. I think I'd definitely reach out to those towns. I'd love to hear about how they were able to subsidize that, because any way that we're able to streamline things, we definitely want to.
Thanks, Doug.
I have a question. I know that, thanks for mentioning the Teaneck Day. We do, your office does an extraordinary job of that every year. And that's kind of like falls under the heading of goodwill for the community and so forth. Certainly, I know during budget season, we're often trying to find, of course, ways in which we can really kind of slim down and so forth. But there are certain things that we might want to look at, and this may be something that may fall under the council or the clerk's office budget. And under the heading of goodwill is looking at some events that might be important to us, like for instance, the 20th anniversary of the Teaneck International Film Festival. TIFF, exactly. So I mean, falling under, especially under a major milestone years of our institutions as well. How do you feel our budget looks when it, as pertains to, really kind of supporting efforts, especially major milestone years? Could you speak to that, Mr. Clark?
Yeah, I can definitely present, what it is and some options very briefly, right? I think Issa might be more prepared to talk about if council is talking about considering maybe injecting more funds, right, to perhaps account for something like you suggest. But underneath the council special projects where Teaneck Day is housed, there are a couple other pots of spending in there that may or may not apply to the subject matter that you're speaking of, certain community groups, community events, goodwill things. And really, of course, like with all spending, it kind of comes down to a policy decision with council to see where or where not they might want to inject some funds that they may or may not have injected in the past. We take I think it's a small example, but a good example is the Martin Luther King Birthday Committee between Teaneck and I think maybe there's some Hackensack residents that's involved with that. We participate every year by giving them a monetary donation. It's just a couple $100, but that also comes out of the council budget, something like that. So that's a good example, albeit small.
Part of the master plan, one of the components of the master plan was arts and culture. So
Absolutely.
we certainly want to really kind of like ensure that we are, supporting those efforts that speak to who we are as a community. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. TIFF is very special. Was there any other questions from council? There's one thing I want to bring to everyone's attention real quick at my onset here, or offset rather. So we are all familiar with our agenda and minute software. In the mothership here, we call it MinuteTrack, Acela, IQM2. And I'm actually going to jump over to my computer because I just want to pull up on the screen to show you guys what it is exactly I'm talking about. This is the software minutes. And what this software does for us is it's kind of a database. It's kind of a depository, like we were talking about with Councilwoman Goldberg. It keeps a lot of digital records. This screen. So we have a bunch of different statutory boards on here. Council is one of them. This is where planning board, board of adjustment agendas go. Council agendas, our meeting recordings, our videos go here. We spend almost 20 grand a year on this software. It's a very old software, and it's actually being unplugged from service in September 2027. So my plan is to start shopping around to look for replacements to see if we can try and find something. Obviously, I don't want to try and spend more than 20 grand, but I have met with a couple of these vendors at the beginning of the year, end of 2024, and prices are high just everywhere. So I'm going to be shopping around. I'm going to be evaluating. We aren't going to need to consider it this year, but we definitely might see an increase in my budget, a significant increase in my budget next year in the clerk's office budget. We'll see. We're evaluating options. Looking forward. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Doug. Mayor, did you want to comment on the council budget? Did you want me to?
Well, does anyone else have any comments on the council budget? Was there a desire to slash the council budget? Was there a desire to increase the council budget?
Why is leadership Teaneck still in here?
Why is the what? I'm sorry?
Leadership Teaneck, 10,000 in council budget. Are we doing it again this year?
So I don't know that we officially landed on it, but I'd like to recommend that we do it every 2 years instead of annually, just because even last year when we were trying to fill up the class, it was fairly difficult to get people to sign up. And then even once we launched the program, we did not have a full classroom. So I think if we offer it every 2 years, it probably makes more sense than doing it every year. So since we didn't do it this year, I think we should do it for the following year.
2026. Okay.
So if you would like, we could also repurpose that. Before I put it out there into the ether, I'll consult with the manager because we have a request from a group that we want to evaluate for an increase in their funding that we could possibly repurpose those funds for this year at least.
If we know that we're not doing leadership Teaneck.
Yes. And again, the reason I left it in there with the manager is because I want council to have that flexibility. I don't want to decide for you with the manager whether or not to have leadership Teaneck.
Thank you, Issa.
So are we thinking of not doing it, Councilwoman? Not the following spring, every other year? Okay.
That'll give us more than enough time to plan.
I do have a question as to, I know that we have events and opportunities, but I just would like to hear my, colleagues' thought on TIF this year in terms of, supporting and what level of support. Is there any kind of conversation we'd like to have in terms of, that's such a major event that is growing by leaps and bounds. An opportunity to really maybe perhaps look at.
I know in the past, there's only a smaller monetary. Remind me what the numbers were? Well, what's the,
Issa, I think it was 1,500.
It's typically 1,500 and
Oh, damn.
Deputy Mayor Boucher, you read my mind. I didn't want to put that out there yet, but it's out there. Typically it's 1,500. We do provide that funding from a trust fund that's council donations and gifts that is built up over time. Obviously that balance has come down a little bit. It's about $11,000. So my suggestion was maybe we repurpose that leadership Teaneck funding this year for TIF, if that's
well,
something.
all of it.
That would be wonderful.
and-
Whatever the council would like to decide, it's your budget.
I think about it, Mr. Mayor, when you think about the fact that this is a pivotal year, this is the 20th anniversary of TIF. They've done some extraordinary things. They certainly attract a lot of business that week. I believe the chamber is working to try to, insert like a restaurant week in collaboration with the days of the film. So I think there is really a good reason to
There's
potentially-
definitely a merit for increase. I'm nervous about two things, to go from 1,500 to 10,000. Then all of a sudden next year, hey, we're back down to 1,500. What do you mean? You gave me 10,000 last year. So put that in the minutes.
I just want to interject. They did submit a request in honor of their 20th anniversary. So I think that council might have the bandwidth over them to say this is a,
What did they request?
I'm looking for the email right now.
That's-
I saw maybe
Can-
Jackie got the email. I
Can we
thought it's.
can we discuss this with more information? Because if we do have that much to spend, I'd also like to see if there are other projects we might want to spend it on and not spend it all in one place.
And if I can just answer why, because what I believe is going to happen, and then again, 20th year, it's all very important. Now, 8 other organizations will be at the door asking for their increase. And don't forget, that is a 800% increase. So just, that's my concern, not taking away from what they want. So just something to think about that bigger picture.
Mayor, I'll share the email with all of council so you can review it and we'll
Was
recirculate.
there a dollar amount?
Was there a dollar amount?
I believe it was 10,000, was it? Or
10,000.
I really don't want to be quoted. We'll find the email. We'll remember what the ask was. I want to say it was a little higher than $10,000, but that's why maybe trying to meet, if they ask for more and we see this.
So it is 10. I found the email. It's 10.
thank you, Issa.
Okay.
Okay, everyone else satisfied for right now? Okay, the manager budget, on page 1, it also remains consistent with the 2024 request of $79,250, for 2025. So I'm requesting that, same approval. I will jump to tab 6, which is our 2025 capital improvement budget. I know we have gone through some of the items with the department heads as they were here going through their budgets. So I know police and fire equipment. I don't know if anyone has any questions. That's the $2,280,000 for police and fire equipment. Did anyone from council have any questions about the items listed? Okay, streets and roads, we also have $3,350,000. That's covering our road resurfacing, our emergency sewer repairs, and our pedestrian bridge, Palisade and Windsor, which Scott Salmon did get in touch with CSX, and we are working on an agreement. And Farah has been a very important part of that, getting the letter drafted for us to CSX. So that is had some positive feedback. Also, our parks, playgrounds, and recreation improvements. Sean went through all of those, totaling $4,730,000. Our municipal facility upgrades to include the library improvements, DPW municipal facilities upgrades, and the Teaneck municipal pool. That is $1,880,000. And our public works equipment, which Trevon went through the replacement equipment that he will need, totaling $500,000. So our grand total for our capital improvement budget is $12,740,000.
Well, can you just break that down to grants and whatnot?
The grant funding is $1,133,769.
And the spend to get that 1.3? Or the 1.3 is what we're spending, correct? For grants?
That is the amount that we're awarded that we will be reimbursed.
And how much do we have to spend to get that one? The
Um,
max, meaning there's certain amounts that we have to spend 200 to get 800 or something. Is that, I believe that's on the.
It's actually $3 million.
I'm looking at the,
We have
okay.
to spend 3.
Yes.
But we get an instant return of 40% of.
Yes.
But we lay out. So we're really out of cash, 4.2 million to get 1.2 back.
Yes.
It's great return on the money. Seems like a
It's
big number,
It-
but
It's great return, but you have to have patience to wait to get the money too.
and we have to
Yes.
pay for it, and we have to.
Correct.
It hits our bottom line, but it sounds worse than it really is.
Correct.
Issa, how much principal did we pay back last year?
Principal, I believe it's 3 million on the bonds. So just so everyone knows how it works, and I'll make this teaching moment. Every year when we do capital, the financial advisor, bond counsel, auditor, myself, and the manager, we issue a note. A note is a 1-year short-term finance. The note is interest only you pay down for the first 3 years, and then you start paying principal. So only in this year's budget do we have a principal payment. because our note from 3 years ago is finally coming due for some principal. All the other notes, when the time is right, we permanently finance them at hopefully a lower fixed interest rate as bonds. So really, up until this year, we have not had a note principal payment, only interest.
Issa, can you
Yes.
please remind me what was the capital budget last year?
I believe it was around $8 million. I could pull that up if you give me a moment.
Thank you.
While I'm doing that, just so everyone's aware, and I want to make sure we mention it tonight, capital is being brought up tonight so that we can discuss it again on Tuesday night under old business, because the manager and I are trying to get the bond ordinance, once it's decided upon by the full council, to have it introduced on April 22nd, and then hopefully adopted on, I believe it's May 6th. What that does is, well, we'll be able to then have departments start utilizing capital by June. I've seen this done in other municipalities that I've been involved with, and we continue to do it. And you only get first bite at the apple at these projects when you have funding available in June rather than September, October, November. And next year, hopefully, the goal is to also do it even sooner. That's why we're going a little bit faster this year with bond ordinance. So last year, well, I pull it up one more moment. I believe it was 8.7, if memory serves me correctly. Give me one more moment to go into the right folder. And so last year, Councilman Pagan, capital was 8,145,000. Split
Thank you.
off.
Thank you.
That's a huge increase in capital. Is this I'm just genuinely curious, is this the largest capital that we've been presented with?
So I don't know if it's for this council, yes. In prior years, I believe I can go back to 2018. We had a significant capital budget. When Dean became the manager and I became the CFO, we did our best to keep it between 6 to 10 million roughly. One of the items that the manager and I, we sat down, we went through this back in February, March. If it was up to us, we would have probably cut down a little bit more on certain items, but how do you cut down items that have grant funding tied to them and leave all that money on the table, as we were discussing?
Right. I mean, if you came in 2018 in the $6 million capital with no grants, and now we're coming in at a 12 million with 4 million of it grant and grant related, that's 8 million net. So it's really about the net. It's not about the gross. I mean, it's the gross is the bottom line, but the net is what we're not matching.
Usually we do one park per year. It looks like this year we're just doing the two parks in the same year because of the grants. So it may be that next year we have an off year from a park.
Agreed. And I think it's important to note also, we are doing our police radios with some forfeiture funding in here. And also our streets and roads, we do have a full, we have the roadway that we are doing a full reconstruction of. So that also is another 800,000. Last year, we had a $2 million for road resurfacing. So some of these bigger projects that we didn't do last year, we are adding into this capital budget, along with, like you said, the VOT Middlefield, which we're looking to do as well. So these are kind of big ticket items we do have listed here along with the grant funding. So I do think that has given us a little bit higher of a capital budget, but I do not intend to do that on every year. I will try to keep it a little bit lower for next year as well.
And what's the total grant funding, like the total dollar amount?
That is the 1,133,769.
So out of 12 million, it's 1.1.
But also the 1.5 for vault field replacement would most likely then come out of PSC&G money and or most. So you're adding another $1.5 million to that 1.13.
So it's actually almost 1.4, a little bit shy. And then as Deputy Mayor Organ said, if you add the 1.5, you're almost at $3 million right there, in grant or trust funds.
So would you say, Mr. CFO, that of the 12 million, that 3 million of it, we're going to receive back, just based upon your analysis from grants?
I would say up to 3, but at minimum, just about 1.4. You're guaranteed 1.4. Whether it's this year or next year, we could still move it back and, cancel that financing, whatever we have to do. So it's at least 1.4, possibly up to 2.9, a little bit shy, depending on the ball field and the most money.
I don't think we plan on doing the ball field unless we get funding for it. So that 1.5 is just
a place. Yeah,
cushion in
Is
there.
Scott on? I have a question about that.
Scott is not on this evening.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to know because the State House Commission said that we couldn't use it unless we had the land to give them. we couldn't use it for recreation unless we had the, whatever the amount, and he was checking. I don't know if he got that.
I'm actually in conversations with Annette, and we are short 0.0221 of land, and we are in the process of fulfilling that so that the grant funding can hopefully go before State House Commission again and finalize the grant award.
Okay, I just think that this is too high. I gotta be honest. I think that this is the highest tax increase in Teaneck history, and that we're not paying down our capital anywhere near this. I mean, $3 million. We're not paying this down fast enough. I don't think this is responsible capital at all. I think this needs to be cut drastically.
So what do you want to cut?
Yeah.
Sorry.
I don't know what the subcommittee has talked about per se. I think there's a lot of big ticket things, like the pedestrian bridge is in 2026. We hear about that all day long. Residents want to be able to cross over that bridge. So I think that there's things in here, you know, if we're talking about it at the next meeting, I think we need to kind of all go down and look. But I think this is way too high. Like, it's like we're doing everything in one shot. The fields, the police radios, everything is just at once, and I think it's a lot. And the
Right.
swim club, I really have a problem with the $350,000 for the swim club as like a catch-all. If we're gonna do that, I want to know what it is specifically. Like, it's too vague.
Well, we have to do the swim club. I mean, we have to account for that because we don't have Voti Park.
No,
So-
no, the $350,000 that's in the capital budget, we don't have specific projects for that necessarily. It's kind of run it for this year, so why wouldn't that be in next year's capital budget versus this one?
That's the Teaneck Municipal Pool.
We were putting $250,000 a year away for the Voti Park pool.
Okay,
So, but again, we're creating a swim club for an entire town. Is it a lot of money? Absolutely.
that's
But-
not right. So then what is that $350,000 for
Mr.
specifically?
Mr. CFO.
Do you want to answer how we think how that
Can we answer?
Is it catch-all? You want to discuss what you?
So last year, if not the prior year, with Dean, that figure for Voti Park, had we built it or done whatever, would have been $3 million. The 350 and the manager and Mr. Romeo can expand is really right now for infrastructure repairs, is my understanding, whether it's a roof, whether it's anything else that has to do. I'm not as involved as they are, so I'll defer to them respectfully.
Yes, council, I'm actually going to ask Trevon to come to the podium. I did go through a couple of general items, but he has been hands-on at the actual community pool day in and day out. And he also had a full inspection done of the property, the infrastructure, which I have shared with all of council, which outlines the extent of the repairs that we will have moving forward. So knowing the Voti Park pool did have 250,000 in there, increasing it by the 100,000 was most responsible, I felt, in our conversations and with that report. So Trevon, can you give us a little bit more background on what you see on the property and why this is a responsible number?
I think we will need more than that, actually. So when we started, when we acquired the pool, apparently they were doing a lot of stuff different, but as a private swim club, but as a township, we are required to do things differently. So we had to do a lot of electrical upgrade, like for example, the swimming pools, they had no emergency shut off at the pool. So we had to run new electric from the main building all the way to the end of the pool because regulation required that emergency shut off be in line of sight at each pool. So we had to do 3 of those, and that was like $40,000 just for that. Then, so when we started the project, we had approximately $250 to do the whole project. And when the roof was evaluated, that came up to $180,000. So we had to put a pause on that and try and do whatever patchwork we could this year and look for capital next year to replace that. And there were some other issues that we were unforeseen that we have to bring to code. The New Jersey Building Code requires certain regulations be enforced, and we are trying to be in compliance with those. And with that, we will need, I think we may need to come back. I might need to come back to council for more funding.
What I hear you saying is that we have to bring this pool up to compliance so that this is what accounts for such a high number.
Yes,
And this number is not even indicative of what it could be.
exactly.
Okay.
Great purchase price though.
Most definitely.
$1 for the pool.
Most definitely.
$1 for acres, you can't get a better price.
Most
But
definitely.
unfortunately, these, try to say this nicely, it was run down.
Yes.
And it's gonna cost some money, but it's gonna be a gem for thousands of people. I mean, I have people concerned, and I didn't bring this up, Miss Manager, that they're gonna run out, we're gonna oversell, and then they're gonna get shut out because it's, I think the first day of sales is on a Jewish holiday. I'm like, we're not selling it. But,
It's going to be spectacular.
they, oh, you're smiling.
That is
You're
Trevon's
smiling.
famous-
So smiling at DPW.
Spectacular.
Yeah.
So is the pool running going to be running at a fiscal deficit for a few years?
I'm just yeah.
So-
I'm just operation.
So I mean, I wouldn't call it a fiscal deficit. I mean, it's not like we have a utility, so it doesn't have to be self-liquidating. If it was like other towns have where it's a utility, you'd have to ensure that your revenues equal, if not exceed, your expenses. I really do believe, as Mr. Powers said, that with the increase in the fee schedule, the cost should be less of a loss than it would have been had we maintained it at OT.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question, but it's not about the pools. All right. Issa, sorry to hit you with so many questions. I usually like to give you those questions in advance so you can do some research, but I've been sitting in county budget meetings all week and all day with John Reinhardt and guys like that. And so some questions just keep popping into my head. The township has a AA bond rating. I know that we have 4 different versions of the budget that we can consider and approve, but are either versions of the possible budgets better for our bond rating or worse off for our bond rating? Because I would think that the higher you go, the better it is for the bond rating, but I'll be honest with you, I'm not an expert on that. So just wanted to ask what you thought.
So generally speaking, the rating agencies do like to see tax increases. They like to see a number of factors. They like to see that you have a healthy surplus. One of the benefits to the township every year we've gotten rated is, hey, your proximity to New York City, your residents' average per capita income, other factors that we've been able to regenerate surplus. Thankfully, healthily as a township has kept our rating stable. I don't know if maybe Mayor, you may have said this a few years ago. I remember it may have been you that said this, but there's also a trade-off in life, right? So do we raise taxes really high just to get an extra letter after our name for maybe 40 basis points off a loan? I don't know. That's a policy decision. We are still very strong at AA. I know there's towns of Bergen County that are at AAA that are facing similar tax increases in our kind of ballpark, where I know the council may like to be. I know the county has a AAA rating. So it really depends. It's a policy decision.
Thank you, Issa.
I actually thought you were going to what he just said. Can you talk for a second about the county ability for us to bond through the county
BCIA.
Yes.
at the
So,
AAA? And I know there's pros and cons.
Yeah,
Can
the
you
Bergen
just-
County Improvement Authority.
so I did go to a presentation last July where the county, as well as another financial group, kind of pitched that idea. I did refer to our auditor and his experience. He has seen it done before. There were some pros and cons that we could discuss with the budget subcommittee at our next meeting with him about that. I'm certainly open to suggestions, but I also defer to him because he's had 4 times the amount of years experience that I have had with it. There are certain restrictions I could tell you that he can go over with us when you can finance, because the county, when they do a pooled loan, it's, hey, you got to get it in by April, if not October. I know there's some also other restrictions on when you could paying down early, rolling notes, but we could discuss that with them at our next subcommittee meeting.
If we could, because I know a nice amount of time was spent at our meeting always discussing the concerns for the bond rating.
Correct.
And that's where we had some cushions and Councilwoman G had some issues until you found the cushion. She wasn't fine with the 6.9. Once you found the cushions, it was, that was an issue for her. So if we can definitely have that meeting
Sure.
with the county aspect, do we need to have our bond counsel there or Dan can speak for him?
I think the auditor can, if you'd like me to arrange for bond counsel, we could work. with
Only,
them.
only if you feel it's necessary that we don't.
Okay,
Thank you,
Yeah,
Issa.
so let's
You're welcome.
work on that date on that.
Okay.
Okay, what else?
I
Okay.
just have a question for the Budget Subcommittee.
Mhm.
I know you guys have worked diligently and really looking at the budget and so forth, but do you really, do you feel that the $12 million is, is there anything that we can prioritize, defer, put off to another time? Do you feel that we absolutely need to do what's reflected here?
So if you're asking me, it's the question I asked Councilwoman Goldberg before. What do you want to take out of it? And so when you look at it, it seems high. It always seemed high. The fire trucks, fire ladders also seem high. When you factor in the matching grants and that you're bonding, let's say approximately $3 million, you're getting 30% back. So we're paying 4.5% on our money, but we're getting back a return of 30%. So you got to take that out of the equation. For me, once I saw that, I instantly took both sides, not just the grant money, but the money that we're paying to get the grant. I took it right off the bat. The second issue is that we have our police department that has a large capital issue. Now we are trying to work to see what we can do with it. A lot of the capital, I don't want to say it's hypothetical because we start the process over the year. We remove some of it doesn't get done. But on Tuesday, TVAC had 9 calls in 91 minutes, 5 at the same time. I was on one of them, and they couldn't hear our radios because in the southeast portion of town, as the police chief mentioned, that the radio coverage isn't there. And basically the police desk said, "Please call us. We can't hear you." And I was talking very quiet, very slowly for myself, and very clearly. And I'm sat there, and I'm like, I hear what the police are saying. So we can probably, if we would like, I'd love to go over each one if you want. I don't have that answer because taking all the grant stuff out, please someone pick something and say, do we want this for this year or not? And if so, what is it?
I have a question. I know this is
Well,
more.
I'm sorry.
Well, it's about the grants though.
Yeah,
It's more rhetorical.
I would say the question is, I mean, like, you guys have kind of like, we've all looked at this, but looking at, I mean, parks, the playgrounds, recreation, all those improvements, we feel that it absolutely has to be done as indicated here.
You're asking the budget subcommittee when in reality it's an elected official question. You as an elected official, for the cost of, again, putting the police radios out there, for a cost of, give me one such item, for $500,000 that you're going to bond over 30 years and you're going to pay the money out. Do you want 41,000 people to not have that field?
No,
That's what I'm saying.
No, I'm just saying,
No,
is
I'm
there
saying-
something, because I know we had asked our CFO the last time we met, let's look at the different options. So I'm asking you guys.
Right.
You
Well,
kind of dissected those options. You
yes,
look,
because I also know what the
We
CFO
can-
does. He puts
we can
things
go
in there.
through
and
it.
things don't happen.
Yeah.
We can go through it line by line if you want.
I think we should go through our line by line.
I'm
a lot of
okay with
money.
that. Sure,
Yeah,
sure, let's
let's
do
tell
that.
it-
Yeah,
let's
I
start
think
that.
it's a good conversation.
Can we put it up on, is it too early?
Wait, can I ask Isa a quick question? How much of these grants are federal grants?
So I don't believe there's any that are federal in here. You have either the vans are from NJ Transit, and then the fields are, believe it's the fields, Jackie. I forgot who the field grants are
Oh.
from.
I believe the
Tara?
1.1 EP is the EPA or is in the EPA a federal grant that Congressman got us?
That's the,
That's,
So
So it is a federal
do
grant.
we have any risk of any of this being cut?
So I remember you asked me this, what was it, at the recent meeting, or by email. I did mention it's the first budget meeting that we were looking at this. So believe it or not, one of our grants actually that we were being awarded this year, the NJ and Jacho grant, we were notified that it's on hold right now. So I had asked the health officer to not spend any funds against it. So it is a possibility, yes.
So if Doge cuts these, how would this impact us?
I mean, you would not be able to pursue the project. So for example, we were working on health accreditation It came in, I believe the grant was like over 600,000. We've only gotten half of that. And just literally this week, they just emailed us saying, hey, we regret to inform everybody that spending is on hold right now. So it's just, that's it. We can't move forward. We can only move forward with the grant funds we have.
Okay, but it was just the two, is the EPA, you said health. Was there any others in here? I just want to get a sense of potentially
Well,
what's
health was the prior year we'd gotten it, but it wasn't in
get a sense of
capital.
what else is at potential risk since it's all up in the air and totally outside of our control.
Farah, is there anything else on the capital that we're at risk federal-wise that you remember?
So Sagamore Park is NJDP. And, oh, sorry.
Wasn't the pedestrian bridge federal?
Pedestrian
That-
Bridge grant, we didn't bond for that for this year because we are doing the design assistance from NJDOT. So we're gonna do the design first and then we will bond the project afterward.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a viable question, not just specifically for engineering, but is there anything we, Mr. CFO and manager, Ms. Manager, that we should really be really concerned about, given the climate of cutting from the federal level and even filtering down to the state and county? I mean, are we, we want to make sure that any kind of grants that we are anticipating really materialize. So I'm curious to know.
It's also a valid question because our state aid money, I believe, came in negative $352,000 this year, if that's correct.
Yes, I
right?
was just about to say that every municipality has felt that, where last year the governor put in municipal relief funds, additional state aid, and that was cut back this year. So it's not just grants, sometimes it's state aid, but it's really just state aid and grants at this point. But to your concern, yes, it's valid and it has happened already.
I agree. I think we do need to be super vigilant as we apply for the grants and we think that we have funding. We need to be sure that, the funding is going to still be there. And I think all municipalities are in a holding pattern right now. And I don't think any of us have any concrete answers. So I think Issa and I are just watching it very closely. I'll report back to you, Issa and I, if we hear anything. Farah, if she gets any kind of word on any of the grants. But I think you're right. We don't have concrete answers, but we have to be specific and cognizant of which ones we choose to apply for. Farah, did you have anything else to
No.
add? Thank you so much.
Do we want to cut the police cars in half from 650 down to 325? Okay, well, we did line by line last week. We could gladly do it again. If you recall, last week we did line by line. So if you look at, if taking out the stuff out the grants, and the police chief and the fire chief went through this. He talked about the rifles. He talked to police cars. We talked about the surveillance vehicle. We could take out architecture costs on a 100-year-old building to start renovating it. That's what we don't start this project. We never start the project. So, I'm fine with taking anything out that people say, I do not want to do. That needs 4 people to say, I do not want to do.
Okay, respectfully, Mayor, I did have a conversation with Issa about the police cars. I do see, that is an option that has come up to split them in half. I know it is delayed in ordering the vehicles. And I will mention that these vehicles, as they turn over, they do get repurposed and then the DPW does use them. So I would respectfully ask that we do keep those vehicles in there so we keep moving forward, because during COVID, we did have get far behind and their vehicles we should continue that replacement. So I respectfully would like to keep it in there. But I just wanted to let you know, as we do bring them in, the upfitting does take time. I do understand that. The company, I am going to plan a meeting with them because I am disappointed on how long it did take for the upfitting. And I will speak to chief about it, but I do think that it is important that we keep those orders moving forward as requested by the police department. Thank you.
Okay. Quiet. We taking it out?
No, I just, and I totally hear what you're saying, Ms. Manager, that it is, definitely justifiable, I'm sure. But is it justifiable given like an increase in the amount of tariffs that they're anticipating the cars we're going to be seeing on cars? I'm not saying don't do it, but is now the time to do it? Can we defer something to take into account the fact that everything is going to be more expensive? And we don't know whether or not these grants are going to materialize. And I think if we look line by line, just with that in mind, everything here, we can justify our teams, our departments need it. But do we need it now? Is the question.
Just to clarify, the tariffs are just on foreign cars, right? We don't buy, do we buy? We don't buy foreign cars, right? So that wouldn't impact our car.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you for that, Councilwoman.
Sorry. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I do recognize what you're saying. And I think the whole list, I think everyone should take out a magnifying glass, look at anything that you really feel we should consider. I would just be remiss considering I did have a conversation with Issa saying, what happened prior, with delay in cars and the turnover, and then understanding that then we're able to use these for our DPW, knowing that it goes to other departments. I just think it is probably more responsible to leave those in and then look at some other things that if you feel we should pull, but I'm open to, what the council would like as a whole.
We discussed using some forfeiture funds for the radio.
Yes, we are using some forfeiture.
That would be
I believe, about 500,000.
500,000?
Yeah, I believe
And that would
500,000.
be- That's off the 1.025 or above that?
So here I can explain that.
Oh,
So
thank you.
it would be off the 1,025,000. Now here's why I did it this way, right? You need a funding authorization first. So in the event that something else happens and they use their forfeiture funds, we can purchase the radios from the bond ordinance. And then let's say their forfeiture funds get replenished where they can put in that 500. I would then replenish capital. We could cancel that part of the bond ordinance.
And frankly speaking, that's what's going to happen to a lot of this list. This list is going to be made up of money coming back for grants, money that we used to matching grants, jobs that are not going to get done, jobs that are going to modify and change downwards. And we go through this dance all the time, correct? So this is not a ticket price of $12.7 million.
Correct.
I mean, we use the word Dean always, but, or you put in there's a placeholder, architect, fire department architecture fees for headquarters, $75,000. Is that a chance is there a good chance that's not happening this year? By the time it starts, who do we hire? Is there somebody we want to hire? It could very well be next year. And I'm just using that as an example. I mean, so, we can see here and cherry pick things, but a lot of this not a lot. A nice amount of it's not going to come to fruition or will be over time and be reimbursed. So,
Mr. Mayor,
yeah, I mean, sorry.
I want to comment. I'm just looking at the 5-year outlook. This capital budget is actually the lowest number over the next 5 years. So I'm just curious, if we cut this budget this year, does that just further increase the capital budget in the out years and create more of a burden, next year? And specifically looking at FY, I guess 28, $20 million anticipated in that budget.
This is a letter to Santa. That's really well. This is you want to talk about what that was, the 30 million, for example?
There's 3 years in a row of $10 million for fire headquarters. So that's $30 million. That's why that goes up.
It's literally, we call it Hanukkah shopping list or a Christmas shopping list. This is what this is. So, it's not the Bible. It's.
Councilmember G's point, over the next 6 years, we're looking at $100 million.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that,
What do you
capital
want to take
shouldn't-
out?
off the top of my head, I don't know right now. We can talk about this next meeting, but right now I'm saying that I think this is, $12 million is too high. We're paying back, if we were paying it back all at once, that's fine. But we're only paying back $3 million a year, if that.
Councilwoman Goldberg, I think it has a lot to do with there were 8 years of 0% increase in terms of our budget and taxes within our township, and we're kind of facing it now. That's kind of like the reality of what we're seeing here. So it's like the chickens have come home to roost.
Exactly.
Well, I'll stand behind those zeros all day long. Anyone that attacks 8 years of zero budget and now says, well, but this year we have to raise it 7%, doesn't do simple compounded math in 6th grade. And frankly speaking, if we increase the budget every single year for 8 years by 2%, That would be a cumulative 16%, well over 20 on the compound. Here we are at 0 for 8 years, and forget the last 2 years, and now we're at 7. Best deal ever still.
Yeah,
Still the best deal.
But I beg to differ with you,
it's
Mr. Mayor,
math, but okay.
because of the fact that it's sticker shock. It is really, I mean, I'd rather see 2% every year than to be hit with something, substantial like
I
this.
understand. So now you're talking emotions. I'm talking math. I can't. It's
No, but also, I just want to say I completely 100% agree with Deputy Mayor Pelcher.
that's great, but it's actually not factual. It's opinion. She made it very clear. It's a very good opinion. It's a very good feeling. It's very good emotions. It's
not
mathematically
emotions at all, Mr. Mayor. It's
It's-
not emotions at all. What I'm
I think-
saying is that it's received by the community a whole lot better when they see an incremental increase annually as opposed to nothing for 8 years and then something, like a
Mr.
gotcha.
Mr. Mayor, can I?
I think, sorry. Danielle, I don't know.
No, I was just going to add, so I hear you. The math, your point on the math is right. 7% is better than 20. But what did we leave on the table? What projects would we have funded? Like there are so many things that are falling apart. We talk about the building is falling apart. The bridge needs to be repaired. We could have, with that 2%, that 20%, made those little repairs so that we don't have 100 millions in capital projects now on the list that we can't fund. So I think that was the missed opportunity. Not so much the savings, but the opportunity to refresh items in the town that needed to be refreshed.
I think actually nothing on this budget, on the capital budget would have been different if taxes were different. I think at the time when there were 0% budgets, we were borrowing free money. Interest rates were so low that it didn't matter what we were borrowing. And the fact remains that it's $665,000 to replace police cars every year. It just is. It's $2 million, or in this case, $2.8 million to pave roads every year. And these are capital expenses, and they have nothing to do with tax increases each year. These are things that we've decided to do as a council. There's another $500,000 in here for library renovations that went over. The buildings are old, they have asbestos in them. So if you look at each thing one at a time, there's an extra $1 million plus in here to redo the police radio system. We have to do that. We owe it to our police department for them to be heard when they scream on the radio. We decided to buy a ladder truck, and in here is another $100,000 for that. We need to buy rifles for the police officers. We need to fit the turnout gear. There's half of the department is getting turnout gear this year. The pedestrian bridge, everybody in town is waiting to see redone. That's in here. We need to put fans in the gyms because that's what all the children need to play and be healthy and not get sick and overheated. We got grants for 2 different parks. That's in here. We can redo them with the grants this year, or we can say we don't want to do one, but we're kind of leaving money on the table. And then there's $1.5 million in ball field replacement that we're not spending. We're not actually using it. It's just a placeholder so that we can do a project. Moving farther down, we have to bring traffic lights up to code. It has nothing to do with what a budget was years ago. We have to do that now. We decided as a council to take over the pool. It's a better facility. There is money. We need to make the upgrades to get it started. And we just heard that $500,000 in here is for municipal facilities upgrades. It just depends on what breaks in town. And then there are 4 trucks in here for the DPW. It's $500,000. Do we say that we aren't going to get another garbage truck for the DPW? Well, what happens when people want to recycle and now the trucks are breaking down? So it's a responsible municipal budget. It just, to me, there is nothing in here that can be cut. So if anybody sees something in here that they want to cut, speak up now. It's not so hard to go through it line by line. It takes 5 minutes. But speak up now. We do need to pass a municipal budget having nothing to do with politics, federal politics, or previous budgets.
Yeah, I think we could, again, open and going through line by line. Most of this capital improvement budget we've actually, during those 8 years, we've actually done. For example, we bought 2 fire engines, 2 squads during those 0 budget. Packard truck, we bought a Packard truck over those. Many of these trucks were already done. Now these other trucks were done. So this is the same thing. And in 3 years, if we have 3 straight zeros the next 3 years, we're going to be replacing all these. We did police cars. We did all this before, and we're going to do this all again. And we're going to do this all again in 5 years. It's the shopping list of stuff that's required. And like you said, so and I didn't take that out. The 1.5 million is another huge amount of money here that we're not actually spending. So this 12 million, less the bonds, less the forfeiture money, less the most money, we're almost at half. We're almost at half. So what do you mean? We have forfeiture?
For the record, I
500
support.
forfeiture, but 1.5 fields is 2 million, plus the stuff that I'm saying that we're already spending that related to grants. So how much are we doing on the grants? Was it 4 total or 3 total?
I mean, for the record, I do support this budget. I would not cut anything as is.
You just got me hyped up on sugar. Oh, you brought me 2 bags. Okay, so is there anything here people want to see removed? And I'm fine suffering the consequences of 50% off the police cars.
No, I would say I support the budget too,
Okay.
Mr. Mayor. I would say I am in support of the budget
Excellent.
too. However, I would like us to really keep an eye out for the grants.
Well,
Yeah,
this
yeah,
is
for
this is you
100%.
got it as a
Yeah,
star. This
yeah.
is your this
I
is
mean,
great.
you know
You
how I
pushed it.
love
I understand.
grants.
No, I understand. This is to be proud of. Okay, and do I hear any takers? I mean, you want to ask if you're up to me? I have no problem. I know you yelled that with that bridge. I'm willing to bet of the 25 people in this room, virtually no one's uses this bridge more than once or twice a year, if that much. Never used it before? You even know where the bridge? Exactly. Bridge, bridge, ladies, bridge. Used it?
Are you kidding?
I'm having a conversation.
Everyone knows the footbridge.
No, not nose. I didn't say nose the footbridge. How many people actively use that footbridge?
It was
Almost every day, my whole life.
That's great. That's why I'm having a conversation. So do you want to pull it out?
Yeah. So Mayor, I have,
on time. Yeah.
Mayor, I do know where it is. I have run by it many times. Just remember, this is not the final say. My recommendation with the manager would be to let council take the weekend to think about it. We'll discuss it again under old business on Tuesday night.
Excellent.
Where like that's where we will look for our direction to give to bond council.
Perfect. So does that make sense under old business on Tuesday night? People come back with their shopping list and fall in love or fall against these projects. We started this side. Anybody on the side want to? Mayor Pagano, any comments on any specific project you want to remove? You don't have to
Usually when I
just-
look at projects like this, I look at the big ticket items, the ones that are worth over $500,000, but I got to keep looking at it, as well as the other 4 versions of the possible budget we might be passing to general budget.
Mhm.
But it's a little alarming, but I do know that there are a lot of different reasons why the budget will be going up. You got no more COVID money, no more American Rescue Plan money. You have the debate about past zero budgets, whether that helped or hurted the town. You have pension contributions going up, healthcare costs going up. So it's a
State aid
tricky,
going down
it's a tricky budget.
Councilmember Pagani just reminded me, Isa, 2 questions actually. One, can you just clarify, how much the increases would be for the next 2 years? And then also, is there any, terminal leave money in here on reserve?
So I'll start with terminal leave. There is no money in the budget this year for terminal leave. We did say that in one of the earlier PowerPoint slides that Ms. Hashmat had. Second, I mean, which scenario would you like me to elaborate on, Councilwoman?
We came down, we spent a lot of time on the 26 and 27.
Correct.
I believe it was down to 14% for the starting bid on 26, but after Deputy Mayor Organ made a comment today, I think we're closer to 13% now, factoring in the 800, remind me what it was, the, factoring in the land money and DOT. Did you show us that 13% now?
Yeah, so if you're talking about the budget as proposed at 6.99% for rate increase, yes. So next year, again, these are all estimates, would be approximately 14.4%, and then 27, approximately 16.7%. That's before the factor of, again, I've heard it's about 500,000, so that would bring it down 1 percentage point for the rate increase. Again, these are estimates. Was that? Next year. Again, it could be less depending on how much your NVT, your net value taxable goes up, depending on what properties more go online, get added to that. Because the higher the NVT, then the lower the point, is. But yeah, again, those are estimates right now. Everything is subject to change. It was 50 and approximately this time last year.
Pisa, where at the end of this year does this leave surplus, and what are we doing to ensure that we stay closely on track for surplus?
So remember, surplus is, I cannot tell you that right now because it depends on how much higher your revenues come in from where they're forecasted. It also depends how much less we spend than the adopted budget. The manager exactly a month ago today, on March 3rd, issued a discretionary spending freeze across all departments. So it really depends on those two factors. We're a quarter of the way through. I could prepare some kind of forecast, but as people know, sometimes your revenues, especially construction receipts, kind of start to pick up now versus the winter. So I really don't have a clear answer for you on that, unfortunately.
Right, but to Councilmember Pagan's point before, so our surplus was the front page says was at 5.7 million, and then we had to cut 1.7 in appropriations to bring us up.
Correct. So your surplus was down last year. We are cutting 1.5 million on Tuesday night from last year's appropriations to kind of bring us back up to speed. There were certain reasons for that surplus being down. There were some revenues that came in under what they were forecasted. There are other mitigating factors, including but not limited to, the switch to basically self-insured health insurance that did significantly hurt. But that's like a one-off. You're not going to see that, at least this year because we went back to state health benefits, actually saved a little bit of money by doing that. So that's why I say it is too early to tell. Even in the first quarter, there's only so much forecasting you could do before the end of the year and things come out. What we can ensure though, and I believe the mayor answered this at the last meeting, some of the projects I'm heavily invested in is bringing our sewer revenues back up, which should bring us significant money for next year that you're not seeing this year. And I don't know, Mayor, if you want to reiterate the reason for why that lagged behind from last meeting.
Two answers. Well, three really. One is that unfortunately we're relying on third-party data. We rely on Veolia. We could be sitting here in 2 years from now and have a very similar problem. Very similar, but there's no chance. Unfortunately, the reason for this is, frankly speaking, the authors of this ordinance did a great job and they said, let's create money from somewhere. And they did by basically saying, let's take Veolia's information, let's see our high sewer users, and let's add a new tax on them. And by the way, that tax actually applies to for-profit or nonprofit, including exempt properties. And that's important because Holy Name, FDU, our houses of worship, all the larger ones, all pay into the sewer fund. The downside is that we have to wait for the entire year to be done, then get the data, then they literally do DNA testing on the person who signed the data for NDAs, and it's just brutal. So what we then decide is this is actually a lot of money. We built on Edmunds a system. Would you be able to put Edmunds up on the system if you don't mind? Can you on the screen? What we then did is we took 6 months off. We spent 40,000, 30,000.
No, way less. I think maybe I don't remember the exact
weekly meetings, whatever it was. Those are quarterly meetings where we built a sewer billing module onto Edmunds so we could track it because we were using Excel spreadsheets before. And so there we fell behind. And then, onboarding the manager, we said, let's do this first. And now we need to work on those 2 years. So it's a great module. If anyone ever uses it, if you don't use Edmunds, it's a phenomenal site. Edmunds lists basically all the property taxes per site. It's on the whip, actually. If we just maybe go up, okay, let's go to, yeah, so if you look on it, if you don't have it, here on the bottom, that should drop down. Where's it? Yeah, we go. Utility account. We basically built the utility system. And if you maybe pull up the hospital, would be what your hospital address? 718, yeah, which is actually code to the emergency. 718. Let's go down and see if we built this account. Sewer. This is a small. This was one of the small addresses. $442. At one point, they were paying us $60,000. But that's actually a medical building across the street. Shadows aren't going to be there. Next page. 718 Teaneck Road. Actually, sorry. We go back previous top line. Yeah, it was there.
718.
718. What was the top one? What did you?
Oh, okay.
You're going to the first page. There you go. 718. So let's see if we have the utilities.
71.
That's a tax income.
71,000.
Down. They were testing. This was down. They were using a lot more. There was a down, if you recall, we actually made a deal with them when there was a bill of interest. And when they called us up and they said, well, we don't pay this interest, we're like, cut a check for the principal, and they did. And there were a few ordinances through the years. Sometimes we did by ordinance, sometimes we don't have to, where we reduced the interest for full payment on principal. And if you recall, there was an ordinance a few weeks ago where there was the Teaneck mikveh at 17. We canceled that by ordinance. Is that correct?
No, I'm working on that with
That
them and
would still
another
be
owner.
pending.
It was the resolution, yes.
Correct.
But those go back 10 years.
Right. Their water bill was reduced by $80,000 with the utility. So it's a lot of the works. Just, it was an ordinance. It's great. It's free money, but it's very intensive to get it built and get it done.
Isa, how does the sewer billing work in the other towns that you work with? I know Leonia has sewer billing too.
No, so they have sewer billing. It's not that much. I believe it's like 125,000 a year that they bring in. Other towns, and to credit to Mayor Schwartz, you said this at the last meeting, I think, are very hesitant to do this because they see it as a tax on their business district when they want to bring in business. I don't know of other towns. Leonia has it, but again, smaller scale than we
Maywood,
do.
right?
I'm not that familiar with Maywood's.
I think our ordinance was based off of Maywood, is what I was told.
I know the author was.
Maywood was built because there was a factory in Maywood. It was like their largest taxpayer that I believe was burning through all the sewer, was dumping it. So they created this ordinance to recapture the money. I'm not sure if that plant moved or not. Gerald has all this information. He's the one that reviewed it with me. And I find this stuff fascinating.
So then what's the $90,000 request for the preparation of the 2023 and 2024 commercial billing in the finance administration budget for then?
Sure. So that line item is for professional services where we have some of our consultants being charged to there. We do pay a consultant to assist us with that billing and reviewing the data, helping us, go through the data, making sure it's accurate, interfacing with Edmunds, and essentially preparing the bills for us. The way this worked historically.
Just to clarify, that's absolutely not me. I'm not anything I do.
It is a private vendor who has experience with sewer billing that we use.
What vendor?
I could give it to you afterwards. I don't recall off the top of my head, but I could tell you previously it was done in-house. And to Mayor Schwartz's point, the problem with doing in-house billing is that it was actually in the IT office. And it was recommended to us that you really need someone more familiar with sewer billing, someone who's actually worked in it, or actually an engineer to do that, because there's suspended solids, BODs, things I don't know anything about. We're actually, back to Mayor Schwartz, your point, with the holy name, we've had to amend their bill because they're like, hey, you use CCF and not MGL, and then we had to recalibrate it. So for accuracy's sake, we did go out and look for a consultant and obtained one for, I believe it's less than 20,000 a year. And between 15 and 20, and you see how much it comes in on the last really full year, I would say, that was non-COVID impacted was the 2019 billing, where we brought in, I believe it was over $900,000. And then obviously it depends on what happens in the community. So in 2020, it came down a little bit. 2021 was about 600,000 split between last year and this year, because by the time the billing went out and it was due for December and you had a grace period, half the people paid literally by the end of 23, half paid early 24. So we're anticipating between 22 and 23, that's sort of to kind of rebound back. And again, hopefully bill for 24 and 25 next year, and then be back on a 1-year look back after that.
All right, if you could just get the name of the vendor. And I still don't get why we're 2 years behind. I mean, I was at the meeting that we had with the auditor where he seemed confused about why we're 2 years behind also. And he said something about potentially being 4 years behind. I don't know what that was.
No, 4 years was never a discussion. So as Mayor Schwartz said, I believe at the last meeting, the way it works is it was traditionally a 1-year look back, and we would typically bill by the end of the year. COVID happened. Everything was a disaster at that point. With Mayor Schwartz, we were working on the sewer subcommittee on the 21 billing, and he had the fabulous idea of, hey, why don't we just integrate it with the Edmunds system? Now people could look up their bill online, pay it online if they want to. And we did. That took literally 6 months to get done. By the time it got done and billed out, it was late 23 when that happened. And as he did say, by the time we reach out to the water company several times by email, and they get back to you, have you sign a non-disclosure agreement, give you the data, it's already June, if not July at that point. So that's typically why it's a year behind, but that's really more the reason why it's 2 years behind.
we go through the list, and please come back with any comments on what what you want.
Just because the garden club ladies have been here all night, is it possible for us to just give them an update on what we're trying to do?
Sure, sure. I think some of you may be aware, but I want to reiterate that we are looking into a prefab greenhouse. Trevon is acquiring some quotes. So instead of us actually, I guess, repairing and renewing the existing structure, we are looking at funding and options to put a prefab greenhouse in place. So he's currently getting quotes together, and we're hopeful that we can get something in place there for the garden club.
Thank you, Manager.
Mayor, I just wanted to say thank you to Farah and Trevon and Sean. I know you stayed here for the evening with us. All three of you, I work very closely with you, and all three of you work very closely on a lot of projects. So I commend all three of you for all that you do. And I know you do everything from your heart for the Teaneck community. And we do try to find as many grants and improve as many aspects of your departments as possible. So I truly thank you. And I cannot end the meeting without thanking Doug. He is always so helpful, creative with all my flyers that I request of him for every event in Teaneck and even the events that we run. So, and also our deputy clerk, she is also extremely helpful to me. So, and Issa, thank you. He has gone through this whole process with me as well. So with that, Mayor, if you'd like to.
Ron, do you have any questions before you end? Exactly. All right, motion to adjourn. Adjourn.